I am unsure whether I will be attending the party. I am unsure if I will be attending the party. Janice wondered whether she had unplugged the iron. Janice wondered if she had unplugged the iron. I would like to know whether it is a true story or fabricated. I would like to know if it is a true story or fabricated. He seemed undecided whether to go or stay. There were many questions about whether or not they had ever used a weapon. It's kind of hard to decide whether or not to call him. If you like, I'll come to Singapore with Sarah. This would have never happened if you had stayed. Mark will inform the flight attendant whether he needs a special seat. Mark will inform the flight attendant if he needs a special seat. Let Anna know whether the boss is able to go to Washington. Let Anna know if the boss is able to go to Washington.
Sorry, chocolate cake is not my cup of tea. Opera is not my cup of tea. Playing golf isn't his cup of tea. Coffee is not my cup of tea. Going to church, Mary said, was not her cup of tea. David, would you like to go ice skating tomorrow evening with me? To be honest, Mary, ice skating's not my cup of tea. Would you like to go to the cinema instead? Some people love football, but it's not my cup of tea. I prefer bowling. Do you like Britney Spears? No, that kind of music isn't my cup of tea. I know that horror films are not your cup of tea, but you should definitely see this one. It's amazing. I feel proud of my wife. She is really my cup of tea. I should have let her know what was happening, but I forgot. He should have sent everybody a reminder by email. They should have remembered that their guests don't eat pork. It should have worked. She should have got the letter this morning. He should have arrived at his office by now. Let's try ringing him. They should have all read that first email by this stage. It's time to send the next one. She shouldn't have left work yet. I'll call her office. He shouldn't have boarded his plane yet. We can probably still get a hold of him. They shouldn't have sent the report off for printing yet. There is still time to make changes. The news of the crash didn't sink in right away. How many times do I have to tell you something before it sinks in? His voice trailed off as the seriousness of his position sank in. If you allow that to sink in, you realize that there is an enormous gap between the words and decisions being taken. It's going to take a while to sink in because absolutely no one expected it of us. But at first, the fact that I was actually involved in making a Mario game didn't really sink in. It took a while for the reality of my situation to sink in. She had to repeat her words several times before they finally sank in. He knows he's been naughty, but it will take a while for it to sink in. He paused to allow the complex information to sink in. Repeat each line so that the words sink in. We were turned away from the fancy restaurant because we had on shorts. The concert tickets were sold out, so Janie and John were turned away. When the movie theater was packed, the workers had to turn away any new customers. The doctor's office turned away the healthy girl because they had too many sick patients to deal with. I didn't buy the right ticket, so the airport security turned me away from my plane. I turned away the soup that the waiter brought because it was cold. Mr. Juarez turned away the tickets because he couldn't go to the show anymore. The taxi driver turned away our tip because he wanted to leave quickly. My professor turned away my presentation because it looked sloppy. Shelley has turned away from processed sugar because she thinks it is too unhealthy for her diet. Our holiday turned into a nightmare. The freezing temperatures had turned the water in the lake into ice. His first novel was turned into a television film. After work is over, he turns into a fairly nice person. The tale of a prince who is turned into a frog by his wicked stepmother. The singers turned their talent into extra money. The night turned into day. In the story, straw turns into gold.
The designer turned a run-down house into a showplace. We turned the spare room into a nursery.
Her husband had walked out on her a year before. I was afraid you'd walk out of my life again. Mr. Franklin walked out on Mrs. Franklin last week. Bob walked out on June without saying goodbye. After 10 years of marriage, she walked out. He walked out on his family and moved to California. All the workers walked out on Friday night. Airline pilots are threatening to walk out next week. The union threatened to walk out if management would not listen to its demands. The contract negotiations stalled, so the union walked out. It was such a bad movie that I felt like walking out in the first 15 minutes. We didn't like the play at all, so we walked out. John was giving a very dull speech, and a few people even walked out on him. Offended by the testimony, the senator walked out of the hearing. I'll walk you out. The exit is hard to find. Please let me walk you out so you don't get lost. I have to go. Will you walk me out? If you don't watch out, you'll fall on the ice. Watch out! There's an icy patch up ahead. They say a storm is coming, so watch out and don't take any chances. Andy saw the car coming toward them and yelled, "Watch out! Watch out! There's a car coming! Watch out! You're going to hit that car! You could have a nasty accident if you don't watch out. When you drive in water, you have to watch out for icy patches. Watch out for falling rocks. Watch out for pickpockets when you're in a crowd. Watch out for snakes. We will be discussing street crime and what you should watch out for. You've got to watch out for viruses when downloading files to your computer. Watch out for that dog. He's not very friendly. In this neighborhood, you need to watch out for children playing in the street. People in my family have always watched out for one another. When I was a kid, my older brother always watched out for me. Carol's father made me promise I'd watch out for her and make sure she had whatever she needed. Watch out for big discounts and clearance sales at this time of the year. Watch out for Ryan. He's here somewhere. We watched out for dolphins jumping on the horizon. I'd used to tell everyone, I'd watch out for this girl. She's going to be a great tennis player one day.